Hey everybody, welcome back. This is our final video of the best whiskeys of 2024. This is going to be the single malts. So I've got some American single malt, Scotch, and then some that kind of like a hybrid. So we're going to start with, I've got 3 unpeated and then I have 3 heavily peated. So I'm going to start with the unpeated. The number 3 goes to Westward Cask Strength Single Malt, finished in Pinot Noir casks. Now this is a single barrel selection. It's coming in at 125 proof. I believe I paid like 130 bucks for it, but man, this thing is just, on the nose, my notes were sour raspberries and blackberries. Just a lot of berry. Like you could really smell the effect of that Pinot Noir barrel finish. Now that also transferred to the palate, but in addition to the sour raspberries and blackberries, on the palate I also got like brandied or liquored blackberries and honey. Sometimes on American single malts, a lot of them, I get almost like a beer or an ale note. I think because of the Pinot Noir finish, it kind of hid that, which I'm glad it did. This thing finishes again with just like heavy blackberry honey, but also just like a good spice and like a white pepper. Like I said, I think I paid 100 bucks for it, and it's worth it. It's really tasty. Okay, so the number 2, Glencairn 10-year-old cask strength. This thing's 114.4 proof. Man, this thing is delicious. I think it's finished in some sherry casks, but on the nose it's just ripe berries, vanilla, and almost like a vanilla custard, if you will, on the nose. And then on the palate, man, of course you get those ripe berries from that sherry influence, but like honey, nougat. There's so much delicious spice from that sherry finish. It's like a Christmas cake and all the delicious baking spices, and it's just wonderful. And the finish then goes into like darker berries, cacao nibs, and just like a darker baking spice. It really was fantastic. If you've not had a cask strength Glencairn 10, I would say go for it. I would take this over that without question. And this is really good. Okay, so my number 1 single malt, unpeated, for 2024 that I was actually able to buy, Bunnahabhain 12-year-old cask strength, also finished in sherry barrels, 120.2 proof. Man, I am telling you, this thing is really wonderful. On the nose, I get caramel coated plums and milk chocolate, and it's so inviting and warm. That of course transfers over to the palate, but it just gets intensified, the sweetness of it. Again, because of that sherry influence, you're getting Christmas cake, baking spices. It's outstanding. You know, sometimes you'll hear people say, oh, if you're a bourbon drinker and you want to get into Scotch, what do you try? But I would give this a shot, man. This stuff is phenomenal. Lots on the finish, plums, chocolate, allspice, nutmeg. One of the best unpeated, affordable single malts that I can think of. It's great, really is. Okay, so my favorites. All right, we're coming up to my favorites. Heavily peated single malts. So I got 3 of them. The number 3 is from an Oregon distillery, McCarthy's. This is their 6-year-old cask strength whiskey, finished in Oloroso casks, aged in Oregon oak barrels, 112 proof. Wonderful, wonderful heavily peated single malt. This thing on the nose, it's like charred plums and lemons. That transfers over to the palate, but you get like milk chocolate and a ginger kind of zestiness to it. Finish, charred chocolate, burnt cinnamon. I mean, obviously you're getting that peat. It's like an earthy, almost mushroomy peat. It's wonderful. Delicious, delicious whiskey. Number 2 for 2024. Another one from McCarthy's. 6-year-old cask strength, 112.2 proof, but this one finished in PX sherry casks. Now, again, you know, these, I believe they're getting their peated malt from Port Ellen and Isla, bringing it here, mash it, distill it, age it in Oregon oak. But this PX finished one, man, you get in charred peaches and plums, brown sugar on the nose. It's like a richer, darker nose than the Oloroso cask finished one. Now that peach and plum goes into the palate, but then you get like chocolate, where this one was like milk chocolate. This is a little bit darker chocolate, I would say. And then the finish, you're getting like that brown sugar, and it's like a sour chocolate. Whereas this was like a charred chocolate. This kind of leans into more sour chocolate. And the spice on the finish, I feel, is like more like a nutmeg on this. So really interesting to try them both, you know, same distillery, pretty much the same proof, but see the difference between an Oloroso cask finish and a Pedro Jimenez cask finish. Just both delicious. The Pedro Jimenez just a little bit darker, right? The chocolate gets darker. The Oloroso, it's a little bit more, sorry, I said that. No, yeah, it's a little more milk chocolatey. Okay, anyways, all I'm thinking about is sipping these things, man. They're so good. All right, so number 1, heavily peated single malt for 2024. This is from Texas, Balcones 1, peated Texas Single Malt Whiskey. This one is 119 proof and 41 months old. So not quite 3.5 years old. Doesn't matter. That Texas heat really, really, really makes the distillate extract a ton of flavor from that oak. This thing is like the nose, just brown sugar, maple syrup, sour earth, and just pungent in a good way. That transfers to the palate, but then you're getting like a charred cinnamon apple, which is delicious. And the flavors are so amped up in this Texas whiskey. The finish, I get some brown sugar, almost like, I don't know, milk chocolate, which surprised me, but it's really, really, really good. You know, if you've not tried this and you like heavily peated single malts, you got to give this a try, man. I think I paid like $60 for this bottle. Well worth it. So, all right, there's my top 6 single malts for 2024. Let me know if you've tried this Balcones or McCarthy's, if you've been able to get it. You know, in Oregon, fortunately, we can get this stuff. This also, Westward, is an Oregon distillery in Portland, making some really good stuff. Chanel and I were at the distillery. We tried a sourdough single malt. Man, well, I don't know if it's a single malt, but I think they use like sourdough. Anyways, whatever they did, it was so good. So, all right, let me know what you thought. What were your top single malts for 2024? All right, thank you, and I'll see you next time.